back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith, and today you are watching a book review. Who would have thought it? Here on this channel. Today we are reviewing AM McLemore's Lakelore. I'm covering up the title. That's what it looks like, yay! Sorry about the dog squeaking a toy in the background. I feel bad taking it away from her, so we're just going to edit around that as best as we can. It's a crunkly, squeaky toy. It's just how it's going to be. So, disclaimers, I bought this book myself. Nobody's paying me to talk about books unless you're a patron. Thank you so much. All opinions are my own. I'm also going to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible, though if you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, click away now. I will also link the story graph for this so you can find any content warnings you may be looking for. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Do I throw it downstairs so she can't have it anymore? Yeah, we're going to need to. This is untenable. Is she going to immediately bring it back upstairs? Probably, but we've bought ourselves 2 minutes. I'm not going to go into too much detail about who AM McLemore is because I feel like I've talked about them a heap on this channel lately. Because as you all know, I've been doing a read-along of all of their major works. It's been a very enjoyable time. This was the final book in that series. I guess it's not a series of books, but it is a series. Complicated to say, and because this wasn't in my overbooked schedule, it deserves its own individual review, and I thought I would try and get it out now when you're watching this because it is relatively close to the publication date and you might want to go and pick yourself up a copy. So, these characters who feature in this book, Bastien and Laure, live near a lake, and the lake is rumoured to have, / it's sort of common knowledge-ish, in a folklore-y kind of way, that there is a magical world under the lake, or in the lake. It's complicated to explain, but Laure and Bastien are the only people who've ever been there or seen it, and they meet as children and then they meet again as young adults in this book. Both of them are trans, both of them are neurodivergent. Bastien has ADHD, Laure has dyslexia. I couldn't remember the word for it. And this book, it's really hard to describe like what the core essence of this book is, because there isn't really a problem as such, other than the world that they've been trying to hide away starts to resurface. And that's a very intentional use of that word. And it's sort of about coming to terms with who you are and how you work. And it feels very, very personal to this author, but also very, very general ideas and themes that I think could apply to a bunch of different people if you wanted it to. That's what I'll say on what this book is about. I think this is a really interesting depiction of a sort of intersection of character identities all in one book. You can't pin this down as being like, this is a book about non-binary characters, this is a book about neurodivergent characters, this is a book about Latina characters, because it's kind of all of them, and I like that it rounds these off as like, these people are a sum of those things and also more than that. And I love that AM McLemore did that, because I think fiction tends to quite like pinning things down and labelling things and saying like, this is what this book is about, this is what this book is about. And like the fact that this book got published is like, in my opinion, a bit of a sign of how positive things can be and how we can have books like this. And like, imagine if I'd had this book as a teenager, like what, that would have been amazing. And the language books give people, I think, is really important, and to have like the language of this story would have potentially been helpful. It's great. I love that about this, and I love that it is inherently a story about these individuals' circumstances. It's not saying like, this is the book for every single non-binary person or whatever else, but it is a story about those people, and I forgot where I was going with this. But it is a story about non-binary people, and I think that that's super, super, super important and also exciting. Yay. Having read so much of AM McLemore's work, they are the author I've read the most of this year so far, I can say this really does sum up their style. I think it is leaning towards the more contemporary style of their writing, which Mirror Season also does. But I think it captures a lot of what they write really well, which in my opinion is they write proximity and romance really well, but romance in the sense of really consensual romance and romance that really focuses on the space we inhabit and the space around us. I really love how that's written. I think it works really well in this story, and I think that it's really interesting coming straight from the Mirror Season into this book, where the Mirror Season is quite a difficult read. This has difficult elements, but this feels much more gentle in a lot of ways. I do want to talk about the romance because I think it is really, really sweet. I thought it was lovely. AM McLemore writes a very good romance. Romance is often at the core of their books. We will often feature two characters who fall in love, or two sets of two characters who fall in love. I really liked that in this instance, and I think I really appreciated the focus on finding someone who understands you being very important, and that's certainly something I found in my life, so I thought that was a really lovely theme to explore, and I think, again, it comes out in a lot of their other work, but in Lakelore in particular, that need for someone, or the desire for someone who's going to get you and meet you at your level, I think was really important. I will say, this is quite short for one of their works. I mean, nothing they've written has been huge chunkiness, but this is 290 pages and quite big font. That might make it a really accessible book, and I'm pleased for that. I think potentially I would have liked a little bit more on some of the lake world kind of stuff, but that might just be my constant desire for wanting more magical stuff in a story. I think this actually contains everything that it needs to. It's just that maybe I wanted more magical lake stuff. Give me some short stories. I'll read them. So if you're looking for a shorter book, this might be great. And conversely, if you really want a big chunky book, I don't think this is going to be for you. This also isn't the AM McLemore book that I would personally start with if I wanted to get a full sense of what their writing is about, or certainly not at the moment. I mean, 4 books down, I could be like, oh yeah, Lakelore is exemplary of what they're doing right now. But I think, as someone who really loves their more fairy tale focused stuff, this isn't the one I would gravitate towards. If they said like, oh, you have 7 of their books, but you can only keep 1, this isn't the one I would keep. That doesn't mean it's any less valuable, but where it sits in the canon of their works is variable based on what you're interested in, and this isn't what I'm personally interested in as much as their fairy tale stuff. That was a really convoluted sentence. I hope we got there in the end, editing Judith. I think of all of their books, this one felt the most similar to kind of some sort of combination of The Mirror Season and Wild Beauty. I'm holding these so weirdly. Those two. And that's partly because it has the contemporariness of The Mirror Season and also some of the big theme of justice that Wild Beauty has. I think that's something I felt a lot in this idea of like, this isn't fair and we need to find a way for things to be fair and equal and accessible and all of the above. So if you were looking for what's this most similar to, I would say that. I think if I were recommending other books to do with this, I suspect they tend to sit more in the YA contemporary kind of area than the fantasy side of things, which I've tended to read more of. And I've not read a lot of contemporary, so I can't really recommend anything else. But if you have any recommendations for books with non-binary, neurodivergent, Latina characters, plonk those down in the comments below so other people can enjoy them, including myself. Do I think I would have ever picked this up if I hadn't been doing this read-along? I think I probably wouldn't have. As much as I love AM McLemore's writing, it's not something that I particularly gravitate towards anymore, purely because of that contemporary element. Does that mean I regret reading this? Absolutely not. It was beautiful. I think that if you are, like me, and you're primarily a big kind of dragons fantasy reader, this might not float your boat. For me personally, it was a really enjoyable story, and I think I'm going to hold on to it because I can feel there are people in my life for whom this would be a really valuable book to lend, and also because at this point I've collected them all. I have them all now. I'm really happy that I read it. I'm really happy that it exists. I'm really excited to read more AM McLemore. If their work tends to continue to lean towards the contemporary, I might start getting them from the library, but that's purely because of like personal preference. I don't know, I feel uncomfortable saying like I didn't like this because I obviously did. I'm making this video, but also like it isn't something I would typically read or recommend. Have you read this? Do you have plans to? Are you a YA contemporary reader at heart? I don't think I am anymore. I think I can pretty safely say that ship has sailed for me in general. It requires like at least a little element of magic in there for me to be like, I'm on board with this. While you're there commenting and leaving those recommendations, you can also subscribe if you haven't already, because it makes me feel loved and appreciated. Follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord, where we have a wonderful time talking about books in a very chill way. If you are one of my patrons, I love you very much. Thank you so much. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I'll see you in the next one, which might actually be soon because there's 3 videos this week, or in fact 4 videos this week, you lucky sods. There's gonna be some bloopers now. I knew it was too good to be true, that you would not bother me or have a squeaky toy. Oh, and it's a rustly squeaky toy as well. Do I think I can maybe cut this out? Do I think I maybe edit around this?